Only 3 months ago, Neptune entered Aries. Now the planet of dreams and ideals begins its 5-month-long retrograde from Aries into Pisces. Time to strip away illusions that may have clouded your vision, connect with your inner spiritual center, and let go of fears, self-defeating tendencies, and escapist behaviors that are slowing you down. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, predictive, electional, and astrocartography readings. I enjoy creating content for you guys, and I appreciate your support in the shape of likes, comments, subscriptions, and please also press the notification bell. Watch more of my content to draw more eyes my way to help me grow. I've been filming videos for over 4 years, and I really enjoy your support. Hopefully you enjoy my content. If you enjoy it so much, you want to say thank you and buy me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, I would not say no to that. I'd really appreciate that. And if you're looking for personal advice, book a reading on my website. On there, you can pick a couple of durations and a variety of options. If you are new to astrology, natal chart reading is a great beginning. Year ahead is a very good predictive reading. Solar return is best done around your birthday, also is highly predictive. I also do relationship analysis. I can help you elect a major date, a starting point, and help you figure out the best place in the world you should move to. All of that is on my website, together with my upcoming Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul course. I want to make astrology applicable so that you learn how to use your chart in the best possible way to improve your life and to strengthen your potential. Join us, and in 3 short months, you will learn to be more empowered and learn to read charts and give advice to people in your life so that you can also connect with them better. I highly recommend picking up my Exalted Moon candle. This captures the moon in Taurus, which is the sign of stability, manifestation, and abundance. It can help you make your dreams come true. It's decorated with this beautiful silver foil, and it smells like clean cotton. Especially lovely during the Neptune retrograde period and for those born with their moon in Capricorn or Scorpio, sign of detriment and fall. If your natal moon is in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses, and if your moon is making aspects to Saturn. So let's talk about Neptune retrograde. It begins on Friday, July 4th and lasts until Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Begins at 2 degrees, 10 minutes Aries and ends at 29 degrees, 22 minutes Pisces. On October, forgive me. On October 22nd, Neptune retrogrades back to Pisces. And so then it's retrograde until December 10th. Neptune retrograde is an outer planet retrograde. It's less dramatic than the inner planet retrogrades are. For example, Mercury, Mars, or Venus, they tend to be more personal, just as those planets are more personal. Neptune is our planet of ideals, dreams, spirituality, creativity. It deals with exploring our imagination and following pursuits that have some kind of deeper inner calling. So Neptune went into Aries on March 30th, and in Aries, Neptune is very masculine. It's very focused on starting things and taking action and maybe asserting your young masculine energy. And so with Neptune direct in Aries, I think we've seen it on the news, there could have been an abuse of masculine power, right? Taking action that is reckless, being too much, taking things too far, too quickly, being too forceful. So now that Neptune begins its retrograde, we're actually starting to review that, and we might be more clear on the shadows when it comes to masculinity, on the shadows when it comes to acting rashly and forcefully. And then as it moves back to Pisces on October 22nd, I think there's a need for more compassion and acceptance and connection with the universe. So I think we're literally pulling back on some of the decisions and maybe reckless actions that have been taken during Neptune being direct, and we are redoing some of that. So Neptune retrograde can break away some of the ideals that you've had. Perhaps you had this really great idea about moving to Bali, but Neptune goes retrograde and you realize that, you know, you really hate warm climate and your skin breaks into hives every time you're like in a warm climate for too long. So you know, it doesn't mean you have to say no to a dream completely, but maybe you need to fine tune it. Maybe you need to pivot a little bit. It is also the time to face the truth about your self-defeating tendencies, about your bad habits. It might be if you've been avoiding something really confidently and successfully for a long time, like you've not been looking at your bank account because you're like, it's gonna be fine. I can always make ends meet. It's okay if I take a little bit more from my savings and a little bit more from my savings. Neptune going retrograde will be the time when you no longer can hide. You kind of, you know, you get like a credit card bill or something as like your bank calls you and they're like, do you know that you're in the red or something like that? So it could be the time when you're realizing the truth about things, you are reviewing your dreams. There might also be an opportunity to look back at something with the planet of dreams moving retrograde, maybe connect with your old dreams, your old pleasures and interests, and potentially bring them back into your life. You may notice that your worries and anxieties are coming up and confusion gets stronger, and so this would be your chance to slow down and to connect with something more spiritual and to work on like inner self-development, right? Because Neptune retrograde is Neptunian energy internalized. So instead of avoiding outwardly and choosing other things to do, you have no choice, but you have to sit with yourself and you have to analyze yourself. Astrology, book a reading with a professional astrologer if you'd like help. Yoga, tarot, meditation, all of that could be helpful. Creative self-expression could be highlighted right now because it could be a really great way to process your feelings. So write poetry, listen to music, pay attention to your dreams, maybe journal about your dreams, and do not be afraid to say no, to build boundaries within yourself and with people around you. Some important dates to watch. August 9th, Mars will oppose Neptune. This could suggest being misguided into reckless actions. There may be, you know, project you're working on and you're having to face some kind of self-doubt, opposition. It might also be the time if Mars is the warrior, it sort of gets disarmed by Neptunian, what's the point type of energy. So feeling like a lack of confidence, a lack of energy, being unable to like maybe physically perform, because sometimes Mars can be also connected to your just literally energy levels. So feeling tired, bogged down, uninspired, disappointed, sick, right? Not the best time to push forward. It's best to take it easy. August 28th and November 28th, Uranus will sextile Neptune, which is actually quite empowering and can bring spiritual awakening because Uranus enters Gemini on July 7th and until November 7th, it will be in Gemini. So August 28th, Uranus in Gemini sextiles Neptune in Aries, and November 28th, Uranus back in Taurus sextiles Neptune in Pisces. I like this because I think this could be the time of that sort of insight and realization and finding purpose and finding something, however subtle it might be, it can bring you hope and answers and improve your vision, clear your vision. September 23rd is the half point of the retrograde. The Sun will oppose Neptune, Sun in Libra opposite Neptune in Aries. May bring up that confusion, sort of illuminate any uncertainty you're feeling and urge you to connect with your spiritual core and maybe find a support group, slow down, take it easy, rethink your images that you may have gotten, you know, you put on a pedestal. You're potentially rethinking some of those. And then finally on October 22nd, Neptune returns into Pisces, where it will stay until January 26th. 2026. It will station direct on December 10th and will spend 2 months, right? A little less, a month and a half, traveling the final 38 minutes of Pisces. So this retrograde will affect you especially strongly if you have planets between 27, 29 degrees mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, or if you have planets between 0 and 4 cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, because the retrograde begins at 2 degrees, 10 minutes Aries, and ends at 29 degrees, 22 minutes Pisces. Any lunar remedy could be helpful, like exalted moon, moon in Cancer 3 can be very soothing. And again, spirituality, yoga, creativity, meditation, all of that could be a blast right now. Before we take a look at the 12 signs, if you're seeking personal advice, visit my website, ask your question there, book a reading, and I can offer you guidance and advice to the best of my many years of experience, empowered abilities. And also, again, you can register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September and will go for 3 months. If you are an Aries rising, Neptune will retrograde from your 1st into 12th houses. And here you're having to rethink your image and rethink your actions. With Neptune being in Aries since March 30th, what have you been doing? Have you perhaps expanded your vision? Have you maybe connected with some new dreams? Have you started things that now you're needing to kind of pull back? You're moving with this retrograde from like a very visible place into an invisible place. So I think there is a need to rethink how your dreams, how your like thoughts of doubt or thoughts of confidence, how your mental health affects your physical health and affects your world, right? There may be some habits that you still need to kick. Perhaps, let's say you gave up drinking, right? And you gave up drinking and then Neptune goes retrograde and you realize that like you gave up drinking, but you replace the habit with smoking, or you replace it with like watching videos that are like stimulating or something. So like there might be this opportunity to, I think, rethink your self-defeating tendencies, or maybe bring something from your subconscious into consciousness and analyze things with therapy, with yoga, with meditation. I think an opportunity for like more self-acceptance is very powerful here, because you're looking from your house of consciousness into your house. You're moving from the house of consciousness into the house of like subconsciousness. And so realizations around childhood, around patterns that you have, self-defeating tendencies, passions that you haven't acknowledged, and opportunities to bring those two into coherence and find more like acceptance, understanding, and maybe clear some things, right? Realize that some dreams are just dreams and some dreams require a little bit more inner work, and they can become reality with a little bit of extra effort. Do share how this resonates. How has Neptune in the 1st house affected you? For more, book a reading on my website. Ask me personal questions. You can get a natal chart reading, predictive readings such as year ahead or solar return. Solar return is best done around your birthday, relationship consultation, or anything else. And register for my course as well. If you are a Taurus rising, Neptune retrograde begins in your 12th house and moves into your 11th house. So there could be 2 separate questions that you need to address with the retrograde in the 12th. Self-defeating patterns between now, July 4th and October 22nd. Maybe you are becoming more aware about not speaking up, or, not expressing your anger, or like some other kind of desire for action that you haven't fully acknowledged, or bad habits, tendencies to maybe self-sacrifice. And then after October 22nd, it could be about some confusion in regards to your friendships, in regards to your hopes and dreams. But if we put the two together, maybe you are examining your own part, like the part you play that you may not always be aware of in your relationships and in your alliances. Maybe you felt unhappy with your friends and you're having to examine, like, well, do I say things that stir drama, or do I hold back when I can do something to make things better? Or with the 11th house, if we're looking at your dreams and your plans for the future, the retrograde from the 12th into 11th can also make it clear for you which of your dreams are unrealistic versus which ones are. And I'm definitely thinking it's like something in the depth of your subconscious becomes more visible. Maybe through your dreams, maybe through the talks to your therapist, maybe through exploring astrology more, maybe through your yoga practice, something becomes more clear to you. And with that retrograde from 12th into 11th, either it creates a catharsis in the friendship circle, or it maybe offers you a chance to step more consciously into your interests and into your gifts and into your spiritual purpose, and think of bringing your imagination, your knowledge, your spiritual awareness to your community. I'd love to know how this resonates for you. If you need any help, exalted moon is the moon in Taurus. It falls in your first house, could be as great, if not better, than Jupiter in Taurus, but both of those are really good candles for you. And book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com, or register for my natal astrology course. It's a really good time to learn astrology during Neptune retrograde. Highly recommend. If you are a Gemini rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 11th house into your 10th house. And here you are looking at your alliances and your dreams through a lens of spirituality. You're maybe wondering whether your friendships are aligned with your beliefs and whether people support you, right? Or maybe they judge you. So there might be some kind of a sense of needing to adjust your friendships, needing to adjust your alliances. Or maybe find new alliances, find people that are more spiritual. And then Neptune returns into your 10th house of career, and you're asking professional questions. You're maybe having to deal with like a separate professional issue that needs adjustment, or you're looking at alliances again, sort of you're looking at friendships, associations that can help forward your career. But big questions around like, what is my calling? What is my purpose? And who are the people that are gonna support me on my journey? People that I can walk together, like hold hands with, right? During this time, there may be some rose-colored glasses coming off, right? And realizations that some friendships will not stand the test of time, or that some career matters need to be finished because they no longer satisfy you. Cycles might be closing, and your dreams might either need adjustment again, or like bringing new resources, new people into your life, or they might make you more clear about what doesn't serve you and what needs to be left behind. Do share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website. You can get a relationship consultation, a predictive reading, year ahead or solar return, a natal chart, electional astrocartography, whatever your heart desires, and register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. If you are a Cancer rising, Neptune begins its retrograde in your 10th house of career, status, public life, reputation, and moves into your 9th house of beliefs, philosophies, guiding principles, education, travel. So Neptune retrograde in the 10th house breeds uncertainty in your professional life. Have you noticed any new dreams appearing? How has your career changed, if at all, since April, May, June, maybe, right? When Neptune was in your 10th house. So take a look at that and see what potentially needs to, sorry, I'm just realized, I realized that Neptune has been in Aries for 3 months. That's why it's like things are moving in my brain. So, okay, so how has your career changed? Any new dreams, any developments, right? When Neptune is retrograding, there may be a sense that you got thrown off your path somehow, that maybe you've discovered a new dream, but it's not sustainable, it's not realistic. You're maybe feeling misunderstood, or you're feeling like you're not in the right place. And so as Neptune retrogrades into the 9th house, it really encourages you to review your beliefs and to connect with your guiding principles and to ask yourself, what is it that guides you? What is it that inspires you? What is it that you were really excited about studying? It could also be a really great opportunity to pick up some spiritual books and connect with some spiritual texts, or connect with your teachers, right? Like old teachers that used to inspire you. You never know. Even reaching out to a teacher, maybe going to volunteer or traveling to go to some retreat can inspire you a lot. And so there might also be an opportunity to like learn something or open your mind to a different way of thinking, and in the process it can offer you answers when it comes to your career. If this resonates, do let me know, and for more guidance visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book your personal reading or to register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. If you are a Leo rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 9th into the 8th houses. So what has happened in your domain of travel, education, writing, publishing, and legal matters between late March and now early July, when Neptune entered and then Saturn entered? Perhaps you got inspired to do something, to follow new dreams, to travel, write, publish, whatever it might be. Now that Neptune is retrograding, you may realize that you've taken things too far. You've gotten too excited about something, or maybe you felt really confused about something, right? You could have felt a desire to grow and expand and take on something new, but you didn't really know why or how to take that action. Now with Neptune retrograde, it's your opportunity to take a step back and to reconnect with your beliefs and your guiding principles. It could be a great time to pick up a philosophy book, connect with your teacher, connect with a mentor, do some yoga and meditate on what is it that inspires and guides you. As Neptune retrogrades into Pisces on October 22nd, it will bring up debts and circumstances and loans that maybe are slowing you down. And this will be your final, in a way, opportunity, with Neptune and Saturn both coming back to Pisces for a little bit around that time, to clear some debts and to let go of relationship situations or patterns that are unhealthy for you, right? Like, what fears do you have that maybe if you follow your dreams, your partner will not respect you or they will not stay with you, right? There may be like a lot of kind of subterranean, fearful, anxious energy that's coming up around this time that you need to address. You may need to review boundaries. You may need to review your financial agreements, definitely paying off some debts, maybe handling some loans, maybe even discussing with your partner things about their money or their view on, inheritance and children's financial support. Like, there is quite an interesting opportunity here, I think, to examine your beliefs, to connect with yourself, and to, in the process, also get closer with your partner. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Also register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. If you are a Virgo rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 8th into the 7th houses. So this is a very relationship-oriented transit. With Neptune in the 8th, you are examining. So Neptune in the 8th, it's interesting, right? It went into your 8th house on March 30th. So it's been there for 3 months up until now, direct. And maybe you've been moving ahead with a business partnership, or you've been getting married, planning your wedding, and being all like, let's put our money together. Let's just spend how much we can. And now Neptune is going backwards, and you're like, well, but can I really afford to spend this much? Or should I maybe consider a prenup? Or should I maybe consider these agreements that I've entered and see whether they are aligned with me? And so in the process, there may be some confusion. There may be a need to review boundaries and review agreements around finances, right? For people who are getting married, for people who are starting partnerships with others. Even if you have an existing loan or existing debt to someone or an existing contract, Neptune retrograde could be an opportunity to review that. And then as Neptune retrogrades into your 7th house, this is like the final accord of Neptune and Pisces, the final opportunity to say what needs to be said, to set better boundaries, right? To maybe let go of fears and extra sort of forgiveness and delusion in relationships. It's funny because Virgo is such like a grounded sign, but your 7th house of relationships is Pisces. And so you can be very idealistic when it comes to relationships, which we need that, right? Like we need idealism in order for love to blossom on some level. But it is your opportunity, I think, to let go of self-defeating, idealistic, self-sacrificial patterns. And so maybe Neptune in the 8th makes you aware of some unfairness that needs to be cleared. And then as it goes into your 7th, you're now ready to discuss it with your partner and to bring in more harmony and balance. And by partner, you can also think of any other significant relationship that feels like a strong partnership in your life. Please share how this resonates, and if you're seeking more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com or register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. In 3 short months, you will learn to understand natal charts, read charts for others, and become more aligned with the universe and with the version of you the universe wants you to be. Also, really recommend my Exalted Moon candle. For the lovely Libra rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 7th into the 6th houses. There may be some kind of need for practicality and realism in your relationships. So Neptune entered your 7th house of relationships in late March. How has it been the last 3 months? Have you noticed any sort of romantic patterns appearing? Maybe there's been some movement forward in your romantic relationship, right? You may have met someone new, you may have started dating again, or you moved in with your partner, you got engaged. So now as Neptune goes retrograde, some of that may need to be reconsidered, right? Maybe you started dating a new person and you discover something about them, or they were in your town, but they don't live in your town, so they move back to where they're from. And so you need to figure out how to make the relationship work with them not being close to you. Or, you moved in with your partner and now you're having to deal with some new circumstances, some kind of development. Neptune in the 7th will encourage you to take off the rose-colored glasses. And if you're single, it's also a great opportunity, I think, to connect with yourself and to be like, what is it that I truly want? What am I willing to compromise on versus what am I not willing to compromise on? Maybe it's your opportunity to be honest with yourself and see whether you still have some lingering love for someone else that maybe needs to be processed, right? Opportunity to sort of clear the air, right? Let go of sort of illusions and find more clarity of vision. And then as Neptune retrogrades in the 6th house, you're maybe having to refocus and take care of some work, some confusion at work, some confusion in your schedule, addressing bad habits, rethinking, again, sort of practical matters in your relationship, who takes care of your child in the mornings and who picks him or her up from school in the afternoon. It could also be, what I'm also thinking here, if we're looking at the 7th house as business and as your pursuits that involve other people, your sort of contractual agreements with other people, then Neptune retrograding into the 6th house would be this chance to sort of let go of any agreements, alliances that are not serving you, maybe clear your schedule, wrap up any projects that are old. You may be looking at projects that you've been working on for like the last 10 years or so, with Neptune being in Pisces, and sort of set some final like structures into place around health, work, serving other people, boundaries with other people, so that you can start new things in your relationships, right? So that you have more freedom to start a new relationship or commit, get married, engaged, whatever it might be. I like this one. I like this latter interpretation. Highly recommend my Venus in Libra 3 candle for you guys. This is Venus in your sign. Forever beautiful. It can sort of boost your charm, boost your attractiveness. Pick it up on my website. On there, you can also book a reading or register for my natal astrology course. Do not miss out. It begins in September. If you are a Scorpio rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 6th into the 5th houses. So Neptune has entered your 6th house in late March, and maybe you've gotten inspired about a new health routine, about a new work project, about a course of study. You may have felt this sort of strong pull to actively take care of someone or something, right? Maybe professionally, maybe in your personal life, you're taking care of your little child, right? Whatever it might be. As Neptune retrogrades, you're getting a chance to pull back a little bit, maybe internally, and ask yourself whether it makes you happy, whether you need some better boundaries, whether you need to slow down because you may have just like dove right in, right? Whether you had a choice or you didn't have a choice, hard to tell. You'll tell me. By the way, if you have any feedback, do let me know in the comments below. So Neptune in the 6th will be this opportunity to like examine your routines and clear your schedule and maybe wrap up some projects or set some better boundaries in your everyday life. Even connect with your spiritual self, right? Like make sure that in your busy schedule, you have space for yoga, for meditation, for exercise, for walks, whatever it is that keeps you centered and grounded. And because on October 22nd, Neptune returns to Pisces, your 5th house, these boundaries and these protocols might be designed to allow you to have more pleasure and more fun in your life, because that's what the 5th house is. They might allow you to spend more time with your partner because that's what pleasure is for you, or more time with your child, right? Connecting with them on a new level. The movement from the 6th into the 5th might also be an opportunity to revisit old creative projects and old interests and maybe take them for another spin. There may be some sort of a sense of like clarity coming to you about your partner, and maybe seeing them as a real person versus an idealized version of themselves, and also trying to figure out how to work together, how to have sort of a better workflow together. It will be empowering, I think, in the long run, but it could sort of force you to deal with some kind of confusion and at first move very slowly as you navigate things. Please share what you think, and if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website or register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. Highly recommend my Exalted Moon candle. It falls in your 7th house of relationships, so it can always bring really soothing, relaxing, calming vibes in your romantic life. If you are a beautiful Sagittarius rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 5th into the 4th house. So Neptune retrograde, first of all, Neptune went into your 5th house in late March. Have you noticed anything? Maybe you met someone new. Maybe you started dating again. Maybe you've picked up a creative passion and you went all in, which is what Aries might be. Now that Neptune slows down and starts to move back, you may realize that someone you started to date has flaws, and it will be up to you whether you want to deal with those or not. You may realize that the creative project that you committed to is not as exciting to you, and maybe you're actually setting your sights on an old creative project from the past or some kind of passion, hobby, interest from the past. It can actually be quite a positive transit for like slowing down the outward achievement and actually focusing on like inner pleasure, peace, and joy. I would really recommend that you connect with spiritual practices like astrology, book a reading with me, do yoga, meditate, do sort of healthy, good things for yourself. And maybe you're also rethinking matters involving children and parenthood, because fifth house represents children, and Neptune goes from your fifth into your fourth houses. So we have the house of children with the house of home and family, right? Rethinking how your living situation, whether it is good or not for your child. Maybe you're also becoming more aware of your childhood patterns and the dynamics that existed between your family, and coming to realize that, you know, your childhood is still impacting your adult relationships. So finding some ways to move through it, through spirituality, through creativity, through artistic therapy type of things, could be really helpful. Setting boundaries with partners, setting boundaries in the home, especially if, let's say, you just recently had a child, or you just moved in with your significant other maybe, and you were like so idealistic and so excited, and now that you moved in together and you're like, oh, he forgets to wash the dishes, or he throws his socks around, what am I going to do about that? So some opportunity to like rethink relationships, rethink parenthood, rethink pleasure and joy, and perhaps find more like sort of boundaries and honesty and clarity in those parts of your life. Do share how this resonates. For more, book a reading and register for my natal astrology course. We begin in September, and all of that is on my website. If you are the lovely Capricorn rising, Neptune is retrograding from your fourth into the third houses. So in late March, Neptune entered your fourth house, and it could have brought some type of action, idealism, dreams in your house of home and family. Maybe you've moved in with someone, or you bought a property, or you helped a family member. Let's say a family member needed help paying off a loan, right? And you were like, okay, sure, I'll help you. I love you. Why not? Now that Neptune is retrograde, you're maybe realizing that you didn't set clear terms with this loan that you gave to a family member, or the house that you wanted to buy needs a lot of work. So there might be some sense of like, you know, rose-colored glasses coming off, and you're like blinking and seeing things for what they are. Opportunities to set better boundaries. I like that Neptune retrogrades in the third house, because it sort of emphasizes communication and speaking from your heart, and potentially speaking with sensitivity and compassion, right? There may be some matters involving siblings that need to be addressed, siblings or extended family, you know, cousins, nieces, nephews, that are important to talk about. It's like a really, I think, opportune time to talk about things and to clear the air and to express your feelings, and in the process maybe connect with their feelings. You may also be realizing that if your biological family maybe is not with you anymore, or they don't provide you with like spiritual sense of support, this could be the time for you to create your own, right? Like, we're moving from the fourth house of comfort and security into the third house of everyday life and rituals and scheduling. So there might be an opportunity to review your schedule, to bring in some kind of daily practice that involves yoga, meditation, taking nature walks, taking, you know, calming, soothing baths with crystals and candles, and just like resting. So it could be like both about like finding supportive people and finding rituals that are supportive for you. Do share how this resonates. For more, book a reading on my website or register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. By the way, Exalted Moon candle is really good for you. It falls in your fifth house of pleasure, romance, and joy. If you are an Aquarius rising, Neptune is retrograding from your third into your second houses. A need to clear the air and communicate about things that are less comfortable with your siblings, with your neighbors, with your extended family, perhaps even your community, right? Neptune has entered Aries in late March. You maybe felt inspired to speak about some kind of issue, to speak on behalf of other people. You maybe even committed to working with your sibling or committed to taking on a neighbor. And now Neptune is retrograding and you're like, maybe I don't have time for this, or maybe I need to clear my schedule, or maybe I don't, maybe I don't need a neighbor because I'm actually quite happy living solo. So pulling back on some words that have been spoken in the last 3 months, having to set better boundaries, having to maybe like address some kind of vague agreements and bring more clarity to them. Having to also navigate financial questions because Neptune is retrograding from your 3rd into the 2nd house. So talk about money with your siblings who maybe owe you something and haven't paid you back in a while. Figuring out how you can save more, how you can invest better, consulting advisors, consulting financial sort of planners. Also becoming more clear on what your true values are. And so maybe the changes in your schedule and with siblings and communication and your involvement with community are connected to you rethinking your values and becoming more aware of like what you want to spend your time on versus what you don't want to spend your time on. And of course, with Neptune retrograde, there is this opportunity to connect to your spiritual values and to create like that source of support for you that sometimes other people cannot provide, right? You cannot lean on other people for support, and you cannot be there to support them all the time. But it's more about you. It's more about your inner core and your rituals and your spirituality and your sort of comfort and security. If you're seeking personal advice, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. For the lovely Pisces rising, Neptune is retrograding from your 2nd into the 1st houses. So here you're looking at your finances and at your values and priorities and how they support who you are or who you're trying to become. So Neptune has entered your 2nd house in late March. Have you noticed that maybe you've discovered a new passion that you spend on, or you've been a little bit more like easygoing with spending money? Now that Neptune is retrograding, it is a time to get a handle on that. You're maybe realizing that what motivates you to spend money is some inner fear or some inner desire or some inner sort of insecurity that you need to work on. So an opportunity to sort of become more clear and let go of the illusions that spending money, buying certain things actually makes you happier when in reality it most likely doesn't. Getting help with finances, asking for advice, paying off some debts, or setting better sort of patterns around money could be a really great time to consult an advisor or start a gratitude diary to appreciate all the things you already have if you sometimes feel like you don't have enough, right? And then as Neptune retrogrades into your 1st house for the very last time on October 22nd, you are realizing you're sort of becoming more self-aware at that point, and you're realizing what you need to let go, what kind of patterns and habits, and even let's say you still have clothes that you wore when you were a doctor and you no longer are a doctor. So maybe those clothes connect to that period in your life. So it could be the time to let that go. It could be the time to redefine your image, redefine your style, rethink your, even like your skincare and habits. And it might be about, because it's the end of that Neptune and Pisces cycle, right? Between October 22nd and January 26, 2026, this will be the end. This is it for Neptune and Pisces. We're not going to get it again in our lifetimes. It could be the time to also celebrate how far you've come and how much you've grown in the last, forever since Neptune been in Pisces. Let me tell you when. I think it's been in Pisces for over definitely 2010-11 is when it entered Pisces. So how have you changed? How has your life changed? Let me tell you when. I am looking at it now. Neptune, yeah, 2011, since 2011, the last 14 years. Accepting that you are perfect as you are, that you've grown a lot, and that you've become more empowered, and also appreciating your sensitivity and compassion and spiritual gifts and ability to rest and soothe yourself and other people. If you ever need help relaxing and soothing yourself, Exalted Moon could be really great, or Moon in Cancer 3 is one of my favorites. So thank you for watching. Book a reading with me to get more personal advice, or have me look at your chart and talk about your future, or register for my natal astrology course. It begins in September. And hooray on making it to Neptune retrograde. It is the outer planet, so there is not much to worry about in terms of it messing with your life too much, but I think it's a very spiritual transit, so it's good to know how it's affecting you internally so you can become more attuned to it. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.